You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. Here's a look at our news headlines this morning. Any minute now, we are expecting to hear the punishment for Sean Diddy Combs. The hip-hop mogul is inside a federal courthouse in Manhattan this morning for his sentencing. Combs was convicted of charges related to prostitution. He could face a maximum of 20 years behind bars. His attorneys are asking for no more than 14 months with credit for time served. A police standoff in San Francisco after a suspect barricaded himself inside a building. It all started at Taylor & Jones in the Tenderloin around 9:30 last night. That standoff lasted for about 9 hours. Police say the suspect was taken into custody around 6:30 this morning. It is unclear exactly what he was wanted for. An East Bay family is suing Tesla after the deadly Cybertruck crash in Piedmont last November. A wrongful death lawsuit was filed by the family yesterday of Crystal Sukihara. She was one of the 3 teens who died when the Cybertruck caught fire after hitting a retaining wall and a tree. The suit says Crystal survived the crash but was locked inside the burning vehicle. Sukihara's parents say the design of the Cybertruck's doors prevented their daughter from escaping. We reached out to Tesla for comment. And the Bay Area returns to drier and warmer conditions this weekend. Let's check in with our first alert meteorologist, Jessica Birch.
We have warmer weather right around the corner, but daytime highs today are still nice and cool. We're about 9 degrees below average today in places like Concord and Livermore, all the way down into San Jose too, but let's head all the way up into the North Bay. I want to zoom into some microclimates like the Napa Valley, for example, or all the way over into Sonoma. Also dealing with seasonably cool conditions today as we gear up for harvest this weekend. I mean, we're talking about low 70s in Napa and Vallejo this afternoon, low 70s widespread off into the East Bay and down into the Santa Clara Valley with 60s along the coast with cloudy skies and windy conditions into this afternoon. But we do have warmer weather right around the corner. Eventually, we'll start to see some 80s off into the East Bay as early as this weekend. I'll show you that in just a bit, but let's also talk about the winds because earlier this morning, as many of us were heading out the door, if you live along the coast, you definitely noticed it was a lot breezier, especially from places like Bodega Bay all the way down into Stinson Beach. San Francisco also gearing up for some stronger winds pushing in from offshore into this afternoon. Up to around 25 to 30 mile per hour winds are expected along the coastline today. We'll see similar conditions all the way over into our inland spots too. But we do have some changes that are good for us here in the Bay Area as we dive into this weekend's forecast. Warmer weather right around the corner, getting us back to average, meaning 80s in our inland spots, mixed with some upper 70s too as we head into early next week. We're done with the rain now. We saw close to around a half an inch all the way down into the South Bay throughout this week's forecast, about 1/100 of an inch all the way up into the North Bay. But besides that, it's a beautiful dry weekend ahead of us, just in time for fun events happening. For example, in the Bay, we have Hardly Strictly over at the Golden Gate Park. We have sunny weather in store for us into those afternoon hours with 70s. So a light jacket is still a good idea, especially with these breezy conditions today. It'll look a lot more beautiful heading into this weekend.
All right, thanks, Jess. Well, it's the 3rd day of the government shutdown today. The Senate is expected to vote on competing GOP and Democratic spending bills. If no deal happens today, lawmakers will not be back on Capitol Hill until Monday. Democrats say they're fighting to keep tax credits from the Affordable Care Act set to expire at the end of this year. Here in the Bay Area, congressional Democrats and healthcare providers held a rally in San Francisco yesterday. They said the price you pay for insurance will go up if the Republican bill passes. We went to Orinda to see how regular Americans feel about this shutdown.
I think they're finally taking a stand. They have to do it, and the reasons they're doing it are essential. I mean, Obamacare doesn't impact me, but I have family members that it does impact.
And I think they need to reopen the government and then negotiate. I think that, while in theory, making sure that people have access to health care, their benefits is incredibly important, no doubt. This process isn't going to get them there.
Republicans say they want to get the government open and running while keeping the debate going on health care. Meantime, we have just learned that Alcatraz, is officially back open. Alcatraz City Cruises just posted on X that all Alcatraz Island tours resume today and continue throughout the weekend. All other tours will run on schedule. Yesterday, we spoke to tourists who were actually bummed out when the tours were canceled.
I feel not good, bad because I come from Italy for say Alcatraz all the attraction and now we can't. Then it's not good, feeling not good.
purposely came to San Francisco just to go to Alcatraz. And I got here this morning, my tour was canceled. Now I'm back to try and reschedule for a later date and time.
And while the island was closed, City Cruises was offering people a chance to reschedule their tickets. Many national parks remain open, although staffing is limited, with thousands of national park workers furloughed and some facilities shut down. But once again, Alcatraz, as of right now, is open. The ripple effects of the government shutdown are also impacting Fleet Week. The Navy's Blue Angels will not fly next week in San Francisco, at least for now. But the event is moving forward with parades, concerts, neighborhood events, and an air show from Canada's snowbirds. Veronica Macias tells us more on what we can expect.
Okay, so we know that Fleet Week is going to continue this week, but there's going to be some very noticeable differences in the skies. That's because the headliner, the U.S. Navy Blue Angels, not expected to be performing. So we could expect to see a smaller crowd. And out here at Fort Viewpoint, already we see a difference. There's no federal workers out here when there should be. So maybe we're going to see the smaller crowd, but nonetheless a celebration. We're not getting our hopes up when it comes to the government leaders reaching a deal by next weekend. That's because the last time around, the shutdown, it lasted more than 30 days. Still, the celebration will go on, and this is also a milestone for the Navy, celebrating its 250th anniversary. We won't have those Blue Angels or a parade of Navy ships, but there will be several events, concerts, and presentations by non-military pilots, the community coming together here and also having some neighborly help from the Canadian snowbirds. For the first time since 2017, we're going to see them out here performing 30-minute performances from the snowbirds, along with the Patriots jet team, a group of volunteer civilian pilots, also taking to the skies and promising spectacular aerobatics. So this tradition will continue this year, and it will continue in Salinas at the California International Air Show. That's starting today, Friday, and it runs through Sunday. And they're going to have a number of performances. Something different this year, Archer Aviation and Joby Aviation taking to the skies in a vertical way with their electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, and also a variety of ground acts with other civilian airshow performers taking to the skies for those spectators to enjoy. So a little different this year when it comes to Fleet Week, but nonetheless a celebration.
And we will be following all the local impacts of the shutdown as lawmakers go back to work today on Capitol Hill. You can find updates anytime on kpix.com and streaming on the free CBS News app. Well, one of the two people killed in yesterday's terrorist attacks outside a UK synagogue may have been shot by officers. That's according to Manchester police. Officials say one of the victims appears to have suffered a gunshot wound, and they believe the suspect was unarmed. According to police, the suspect drove directly at people outside a Manchester synagogue and then attacked them with a knife. 2 Jewish men died and 3 others were seriously injured. It happened on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish religious calendar. President Trump says Hamas must agree to a proposed peace deal for Gaza by Sunday evening, or he threatened more attacks against the group. The president posted on social media calling it a last chance. Trump unveiled his peace plan alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier this week. They called for the release of all Israeli hostages and for the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. Hamas says it was still considering that plan. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, despite a drop in enrollment at a local school district is gaining a campus. Why it's adding its first new school in decades. Plus, we're still months away from the Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium, but politics are already starting to come into play. The threats from the Trump administration.
Drier weather, warmer weather, and some breezy conditions. That's what we're gearing up for as we dive into this weekend's forecast. It's Friday, and we're still holding on tight to some cool conditions today, but we jump right back up into the 80s in our inland spots as early as tomorrow and Sunday with sunnier skies right around the corner. Now we head into next week. We're flirting back and forth with 70s and 80s, widespread from wine country off into the East Bay, but you make your way over into the Bay Area, closer to San Francisco and Oakland. Well, we're going to hold on tight to some low 70s with sunny skies right around the corner as we head into this weekend's forecast.
All right, flames that erupted at a Chevron oil refinery near Los Angeles have finally died down. It started with an explosion last night in El Segundo, about a mile south of LAX. Mayor Karen Bass said the fire did not impact the airport, but the flames could be seen for miles as local officials urged people to stay indoors. Authorities say no one was hurt and there was no threat to public safety. This is video of the flames still burning earlier this morning. Investigators are still trying to determine the cause of that fire. Well, despite falling enrollment, San Francisco is on course to open its first new school in more than 20 years. The school is set to open next fall in Mission Bay on Owen Street, that's near 280. It is an area that includes J Center and UCSF Medical Campus, but also thousands of homes. Brad Hamilton spoke to the district about how this new campus will accommodate a growing neighborhood of new families.
For the first time in over 20 years, San Francisco is getting ready to open up a brand new school. And for the superintendent, this is more than just this big building behind us. It's about the community that surrounds it. It isn't the prettiest sight or sound right now, but when it's done, Dr. Maria Sue says it's going to be a thing of beauty. Not just the building, but the opportunity.
We knew that we needed to have a school there because with housing comes people with families, and we wanted to make sure that we had a school that our families could access.
When finished, Mission Bay Elementary will be the first of its kind in the neighborhood, and the first new campus built in San Francisco in more than 20 years. When the idea was first presented years ago, the superintendent says there were plenty of skeptics.
We trusted in the data. We knew that we were going to expand industry out there. We were going to expand housing out there.
Now, she thinks it's a sign of growth despite several years of overall enrollment decline and a laborious process to get this school built.
It's been well over 2 decades since we opened up a new school, so this is extremely exciting for us.
The timeline itself breaks down like this. Construction finishes in early 2026. Pre-K and kindergarten begins next August. And by 2032, a full campus through 5th grade. And the need? Well, Mission Bay is one of San Francisco's fastest growing neighborhoods, packed with young families competing for seats in already crowded schools.
There definitely is a need over here.
Yukina Sanford knows that struggle all too well. She grew up here, raised 2 sons of her own, without a school right down the block.
I wish my kids could walk to school and not have to catch the bus all the way across town. And that's pretty much what my kids had to do. They had to go across town to get to a decent school. So I'm excited for the residents here.
Yes, the future is bright, but for now, it's blueprints, cranes, and construction. In less than 2 years, Dr. Sue says this developing lot will transform into something far greater. A campus built for children and a promise finally kept.
We're going to be there on day 1 to have a very vibrant and wonderful school that the Mission Bay community and, quite frankly, the greater district will be very, very proud of.
As you can see, this building is still under construction. It's going to take some time. So again, that first school year you heard, it's going to be pre-K and kindergarten. That's August in 2026, the first bell.
Well, the district first broke ground on this project back in 2020. That was 2 years before the school board considered closing 11 schools across the district and eventually abandoned that plan after pushback from the community and the resignation of Dr. Sue's predecessor. California colleges could get caught in the middle of the feud between President Trump and Governor Newsom. The governor is now threatening to withhold funding from any university that agrees to Trump's political priorities. The White House sent a letter to 9 of the country's major universities, including USC. It seeks to compel them to adopt the administration's policies in areas of admissions, women's sports, gender identity, and free speech in exchange for preferential access to federal funding. Governor Newsom responded saying any California university that signs this radical agreement will lose billions in state funding instantly. So far, USC is the only California university to get the letter. Administrators say they are still reviewing it. The Super Bowl is still months away, but it's already generating a lot of controversy and conversation very early on. Bad Bunny made headlines when he announced he was headlining the halftime show. He notably decided not to make any stops in the U.S. on his latest world tour because he was concerned about ICE showing up to his shows and targeting fans. And while security is always a big concern, those concerns became even more amplified after President Trump's Homeland Security Advisor Corey Lewandowski said ICE could be at the Super Bowl. And while many federal agencies have always played a big part in security operations with a major sporting event, UC Santa Cruz political analyst Dr. Nolan Higdon tells us his concerns are the threats coming from the White House.
The rhetoric from Corey Lewandowski is very dangerous. There's a lot of fear in the country right now over a multitude of things. And the last thing people need to fear is a place like the Super Bowl.
Higdon is also concerned the rhetoric is aimed at pressuring the NFL to have Bad Bunny drop out of the performance. However, CBS Bay Area security expert Jeff Harp says ICE was one of the many partners at Super Bowl 50, along with TSA, Customs and Border Patrol, and other federal agencies.
All these people were partners at the table, to include Santa Clara County. And DHS brings a lot to the table. And it's not uncommon for them to run law enforcement operations during Super Bowl. They often do that.
Harp also says operations will be driven by specific leads. The 49ers survived a thriller in L.A. despite being heavy underdogs to the rival Rams. No starting quarterback, 2 wide receivers out. The team still got it done last night. Matt Lively has a recap from SoFi Stadium.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
Thriller on Thursday night. The beat-up San Francisco 49ers come into SoFi Stadium, take on the Rams, and get the job done after 4 quarters and overtime.
The NFL is like the best reality show.
But it was just crazy. I'm trying to remember all the... I got to watch the film.
It's amazing. I think we beat everybody in our division, like you said. That's amazing. That usually don't happen a lot. So we just got to keep it going, keep it rolling.
The Niners came away with the big win after a 4th down stand in OT where the entire defense rushed the line and stopped Kyron Williams.
They didn't want to have to end in a tie, and so they thought that they could, I guess big boys at the end there, and we had to see who wanted it more.
It was a huge character win. We've been in tight ones how many have we had? All 5 of them. Had a chance to pull out last week, we didn't, but pulled this one out and can't be more proud of the guys.
The Niners improved to 4-1 on the year and are still undefeated in the NFC West, and even better, they get a whole lot of rest before they have to travel to Tampa to take on the Bucs.
Well, the Niners pulled ahead for good in overtime after Eddie Pinheiro drilled a 59-yard field goal. Another key play, defensive lineman Alfred Collins recovered a fumble at the 1-yard line in the 4th quarter. For much more coverage of the 49ers, join Matt and Vern Glenn tonight at 7:30 for the Red and Gold Report. Watch it on KPIX and streaming on the free CBS News app. Still ahead, it could be a hotel, an entertainment hub, or more convention center space inside San Jose's big downtown real estate purchase, and why some are slamming the deal as wasteful spending. Big moment for San Jose. The city has completed a new land deal downtown, once intended for a big tech. Now it could become a space for entertainment, sports, and even a new luxury hotel. Right now, the roughly 3.5-acre site is just a parking lot. It sits on South Almaden Boulevard, sandwiched between the Convention Center and the Children's Discovery Museum. City leaders are calling it a great investment, but as you might expect, the new deal does have its share of critics questioning the city's plan. Lem Ramirez has a closer look.
Well, the city has had its eye on this piece of property for a long time as some sort of hotel or entertainment district because of its proximity right across the street from the downtown convention center. There are no plans to develop this immediately, but when the city saw that it was for sale and the price was right, they swooped in.
It may look like just another downtown parking lot, but this stretch of pavement just became San Jose's newest multi-million-dollar investment. The city bought the land right across from the convention center for $13.5 million, hoping to one day turn it into something big, a sports and entertainment venue, maybe even a luxury hotel.
The idea here is that this will give us a little bit more flexibility as we look to expand the convention center in the coming years, potentially stage development across some of the city's existing land holdings, and eventually could hold something like a marquee hotel to support the convention center circuit.
The city got the land for $20 million less than the previous owner paid. That company had planned a massive 2-building tech campus here, but those plans collapsed after the pandemic. Now, with many office towers sitting half empty, the city seems to be pivoting from tech to tourism and entertainment.
It's a huge U-turn, right? 2 million square feet, huge job producing site. Now it's going to stay a parking lot for an indefinite period for a potential expansion of a convention center that the market's not telling you needs to expand.
Bob Stedler is a land use consultant and says the city's move raises bigger questions about San Jose's identity in a post-pandemic world, whether it's chasing the right future.
With empty storefronts and all of the other issues, I don't see how this meets their top 5 priorities.
But one local business says any future is better than the status quo. George Kukar's House of Pizza has been in the neighborhood since 1950, and George says this has been one of the area's slowest periods.
So weekends used to be just thriving downtown until real late at night. Now it seems to die out. Around 10:30, 11 o'clock, there's not much action downtown. And I think anything like that, hotels, people spending the night, being out, that would really help with foot traffic here at the restaurant.
For now, the city says the lot will stay as is while plans for the space evolve. What ends up happening here is still uncertain, but the city's bet is clear, investing in a different kind of downtown.
And the decision comes days after a few San Jose City Council members returned from a trip to Atlanta, where they toured a major sports venue. Coming up our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, a social worker in Santa Clara County who was once addicted to drugs, now helping others get clean.
I feel like I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do.
But now her work is being threatened by budget cuts, how other healthcare programs are facing a similar fate.
Your community, your news, powered by KPIX. CBS News Bay Area. Watch anywhere, anytime. Stay informed and connected. Trusted local news when you want it. CBS News Bay Area. Watch free on any device. You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Well, thanks for staying with us. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. Here's another look at our news headlines. Any minute now, we're expecting to hear the punishment for Sean Diddy Combs. The hip-hop mogul is inside a federal courthouse in Manhattan this morning for his sentencing. Combs was convicted of charges related to prostitution. He could face a maximum of 20 years behind bars. His attorneys are asking for no more than 14 months with credit for time served. A police standoff in San Francisco after a suspect barricaded himself inside a building. It all started at Taylor and Jones in the Tenderloin around 9:30 last night. The standoff lasted for about 9 hours. Police say the suspect was taken into custody at around 6:30 this morning. It is unclear exactly what he was wanted for. And an East Bay family is suing Tesla after that deadly Cybertruck crash in Piedmont last November. A wrongful death lawsuit was filed yesterday by the family of Crystal Sukihara. She was one of the 3 teens who died when the Cybertruck caught fire after hitting a retaining wall and a tree. The suit says that Crystal survived the crash but was locked inside the burning vehicle. Sukihara's parents say the design of the Cybertruck's doors prevented their daughter from escaping. We reached out for Tesla for comment. Well, better weather expected this weekend around the Bay. Let's get another check on our first alert forecast with meteorologist Jessica Birch.
We have warmer weather right around the corner, but daytime highs today are still nice and cool. We're about 9 degrees below average today in places like Concord and Livermore, all the way down into San Jose too, but let's head all the way up into the North Bay. I want to zoom into some microclimates like the Napa Valley, for example, or all the way over into Sonoma. Also dealing with seasonably cool conditions today as we gear up for harvest this weekend. I mean, we're talking about low 70s in Napa and Vallejo this afternoon, low 70s widespread off into the East Bay and down into the Santa Clara Valley with 60s along the coast with cloudy skies and windy conditions into this afternoon. But we do have warmer weather right around the corner. Eventually, we'll start to see some 80s off into the East Bay as early as this weekend. I'll show you that in just a bit, but let's also talk about the winds because earlier this morning, as many of us were heading out the door, if you live along the coast, you definitely noticed it was a lot breezier, especially from places like Bodega Bay all the way down into Stinson Beach. San Francisco also gearing up for some stronger winds pushing in from offshore into this afternoon. Up to around 25 to 30 mile per hour winds are expected along the coastline today. We'll see similar conditions all the way over into our inland spots too. But we do have some changes that are good for us here in the Bay Area as we dive into this weekend's forecast. Warmer weather right around the corner, getting us back to average, meaning 80s in our inland spots, mixed with some upper 70s too as we head into early next week. We're done with the rain now. We saw close to around a half an inch all the way down into the South Bay throughout this week's forecast, about 1/100 of an inch all the way up into the North Bay. But besides that, it's a beautiful dry weekend ahead of us, just in time for fun events happening. For example, in the Bay, we have Hardly Strictly over at the Golden Gate Park. We have sunny weather in store for us into those afternoon hours with 70s. So a light jacket is still a good idea, especially with these breezy conditions today. It'll look a lot more beautiful heading into this weekend.
Well, nonprofit hired to help keep the streets of San Francisco safe is mourning the loss of their first employee ever killed on the job. Last week, Joey Alexander was shot and killed outside the main branch of the San Francisco Library. Alexander worked for Urban Alchemy, which contracts with the city to clean up streets and de-escalate tense situations. Lauren Tom spoke with the group's founder, who says the tragedy is not changing their strategy.
Joey Alexander spent 23 years behind bars before finding freedom and purpose on San Francisco streets as a practitioner for Urban Alchemy. For 2 years, he worked outside the main library, checking on unhoused neighbors, deterring violence, and watching for drug use. Last Friday, he was shot during an interaction with a man suspected of using drugs nearby. Urban Alchemy founder Lena Miller says it's the first time in the group's history that a practitioner has been killed on the job.
I think we do go into every interaction thinking the worst can happen. Almost everybody is ready to get back out there and recommit themselves to the work so that Joey's death would not be in vain.
It's a loss that's shaken the organization, but Miller says it's a reality her team never forgets.
We're under no illusions that we won't lose our lives out there. I mean, but people still do it. And I think that's really a testament to who they are.
The public safety group was built on second chances. More than 90% of its practitioners are formerly incarcerated, including Joey, who served years at San Quentin. Miller says that's what makes them uniquely prepared for the streets and gave Joey, like others, a sense of purpose.
You have to learn how to read people. You have to learn how to de-escalate. You have to learn how to have respect for people, because in many ways it is the only currency.
She says she believes Joey was using those skills Friday when he crossed paths with 42-year-old Edmund Bowen, who was suspected of using drugs in the area. Police say Joey confronted Bowen, asking him to stop. Bowen shouted obscenities about Urban Alchemy, then opened fire, hitting Joey, who died days later at a nearby hospital. Bowen was taken into custody by police. District Attorney Brooke Jenkins condemned the violence, saying Bowen is being charged with murder.
Mr. Bowen has now been charged with murder, as well as assault with a firearm and an enhancement of using a firearm during the commission of that murder.
Since 2018, Urban Alchemy has worked to stabilize some of San Francisco's most troubled neighborhoods. But critics have questioned whether the group, funded through city contracts, is being asked to take on policing responsibilities without the same oversight. Miller says her team offers something different: de-escalation through lived experience, not force.
Public safety is indeed relationships. It is eyes on the streets. It is knowing what the rhythms of a community are.
Practitioners like Joey are unarmed, but often carry Narcan to revive people overdosing. And Miller says that won't change. In the wake of Joey's death, she says they're recommitted to their mission.
You can be angry, you can be aggressive, you can be all those things, but in the end, the only one thing that truly trumps all of that is love and respect.
And we've also learned that Joey had not seen his son since he was released from prison several years ago. We're told he was set to reunite with him just a few weeks from now. Well, a social worker in the South Bay has turned her life around after a long struggle with drugs, but now that program that helped her get her life back on track is in danger of shutting down. Santa Clara County is projecting to lose about $1 billion over the next few years because of federal Medicaid cuts. County leaders are trying to make up for some of that, but as Len Ramirez reports, Voters will be the ones who ultimately decide a month from now.
If you just met Mia Jareggi today, you'd never guess the painful path she took to get here. She's now a county hospital social worker, helping others and serving the public with pride.
It's the best feeling in the world, Glenn. It really is. It's indescribable. I feel like I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do. Like I'm fulfilling the purpose for my life.
But Mia's past life was full of hardship and survival. Born to drug-addicted parents, she says her childhood was filled with chaos and neglect.
Started experimenting when I was 15 years old, and from 15 to 35, I was full-blown active addiction.
One year, while serving time, she earned her GED, but her self-destructive cycle continued. Then, facing prison, a judge gave her a choice, hard time or rehab, through a nonprofit that helps people get clean called Pathway Society.
The day that I went, I was using up into the moment that I was on my way to treatment, and once I got there, it was like a relief. You know, I didn't have to fight anymore.
All right, just have a seat right here.
Pathways provides a structure that Ruben, a Pathways counselor, says is key for the thousands of people it serves. Daily check-ins, group therapy, life skills training. 21-year-old Sergio, who just checked into a downtown group home, says without it, his future was grim.
Either in jail or dead.
But health-related programs like Pathways could soon be wiped out by looming federal budget cuts. 98% of the program's funding comes from Medicaid and Medi-Cal, but it's not the only program in danger. Santa Clara County, which administers and fills in funding gaps, is projecting cuts of more than $1 billion to programs like Pathways, plus its 4 public hospitals and 15 health clinics.
It is catastrophic on every front. From the number of layoffs that have to be made, the service lines that will have to be cut back. The residents, the patients of this home behind me will be on the streets.
To address the shortfall, the Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to support Measure A on the November ballot, which would raise the sales tax by 5/8 of a cent for 5 years. It's expected to bring $330 million a year to help pay for public health.
Vote no on Measure A.
But Measure A faces a vocal opposition from taxpayer groups led by people like Dan Stedging.
The timing's wrong for this tax. We've got record inflation and people can't put groceries on the table and gas in the car.
Supervisor Betty Young says there is no other way to keep the doors open for programs like they were when Mia went through.
I know the cost of living is challenging for many people, and that's why we structured the sales tax measure the way we did. Temporary, 5 years, 5/8 of a penny, and essential items are exempt from the sales tax measure increase.
After completing her own recovery, Mia got a job with Pathways, helping people like herself. Then came a bachelor's degree and later a master's in social work.
I actually was able to walk across the stage and get my master's degree and get hooded on my 13-year clean recovery milestone.
Mia seized the opportunity to get help, to get clean, and turn her life around. But now, with the future of rehab riding on the ballot box, she worries that people in the same position she was in may never get the chance.
Well, Measure A has gotten the support of San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, Santa Clara County District Attorney Jeff Rosen, and other law enforcement officials, but some business groups do oppose it. Restoring some of that federal Medicaid funding that Len just mentioned is one of the Democrats' demands for a deal to end the government shutdown, which is now in its 3rd day. Extensions to Obamacare subsidies are set to expire at the end of the year. That's what they're fighting for. Those tax subsidies were put in place in 2021 as a relief during the pandemic. They were meant to help people on the Affordable Care Act to help pay for health care premiums. Bay Area congressional Democrats gathered in San Francisco on Thursday to call attention to the impact. In the meantime, in Washington, no sign of a breakthrough in that shutdown stalemate. Senate Democrats are expected to block a Republican-backed short-term spending bill when they vote again today. And we'll keep you updated on the following and latest developments on the government shutdown. You can find updates anytime on KPIX.com and streaming on the free CBS News app. Well, a new CBS News poll shows that Americans' confidence in the economy continues to slip. 59% of respondents now say the economy is getting worse, a 3% jump since last month. More than half of Americans also say the job market is bad. A majority of people surveyed are worried about the impact of artificial intelligence. 57% believe AI is bad for the economy. Up next, instruments crafted from water pipes, bottle caps, and other things that you may find in landfills. Meet the orchestra creating music from things that are thrown away.
Drier weather, warmer weather, and some breezy conditions. That's what we're gearing up for as we dive into this weekend's forecast. It's Friday and we're still holding on tight to some cool conditions today, but we jump right back up into the 80s in our inland spots as early as tomorrow and Sunday with sunnier skies right around the corner. Now we head into next week, we're flirting back and forth with 70s and 80s, widespread from wine country off into the East Bay, but you make your way over into the Bay Area, closer to San Francisco and Oakland. Well, we're going to hold on tight to some low 70s with sunny skies right around the corner as we head into this weekend's forecast.
Well, in today's Project Earth, globally, we dump more than 2 billion tons of trash in the landfills every year. Here in the U.S., an estimated 75% of what we toss is, well, reusable. Now a very special concert unfolded in the Bay Area where garbage is musical treasure. Ann Makovic takes a listen.
North of San Francisco, a few dozen families flocked to a performance with unusual instruments at a dump.
It's inspirational to see what beautiful music that they can make with these instruments.
The concert venue, Marin Sanitary Service, where big trucks dump the waste picked up from homes in San Rafael, including the trash that ends up in landfills. In the crowd, 2-year-old Wes and 5-year-old Frankie.
I'm a boy mom with 2 big fans of garbage trucks, so we had to come see them in real life.
Also in real life, the musicians who know their way around garbage. Meet the Recycled Orchestra of Cateora, a group of young performers from a remote village in Paraguay. In their hands, musical instruments made from trash, salvaged from the landfill that surrounds their town. Saxophones crafted from water pipes, bottle caps, and coins. Violins fashioned from paint cans, pizza trays, and utensils, and a stand-up bass created from an oil drum. The orchestra's motto,
"The world brings us garbage and we send back music."
Juan Carlos Arauz from the nonprofit E3 helped to facilitate their trip. He translated for founder and director Fabio Chavez.
We believe not only in hope, but that in the children that we work with and we do these performances, that it brings hope for everyone else in the world.
The orchestra inspired a workshop where kids got to make their own musical instruments out of trash intended for California landfills.
Show me. Ooh.
There were some rubber band guitars, all kinds of musical shakers made from cans, cardboard, beans, shells, and beads. And thanks to Frankie and his mom, an unusual tambourine made out of a plastic wheel, buttons, and wooden fish.
People are going to start to transform how they think about garbage, that really there might be a treasure in there without understanding and realizing what is possible.
The hope, when it comes to trash, future generations might play a different tune.
Well, the Recycled Orchestra has played at the Kennedy Center, and for Pope Francis, they also performed with Stevie Wonder and opened for Metallica when the band toured South America back in 2014. Well, lowriding was illegal in California in the 80s, putting it at odds with police departments across the Bay Area. But in Oakland, that clash took a new turn that sparked a cultural shift. In 1994, Oakland police officer Miguel Soto was shot and killed. That same year, Jose Ortiz renovated the fallen officer's patrol car at the request of OPDs. It became OPD's lowrider. The custom cruiser is often a car show, schools, and Bay Area events promoting unity. A big shift in the 80s when Oakland police often targeted lowriders.
We was needed something to bridge the police and the community and the use of the community, and it was the perfect tool.
Kevin Coe introduces us to the driving force behind a special lowrider. You can see that story tonight at 5 o'clock. And be sure to watch our 30-minute special, Una Familia, airing on Thursday, October 16th at 7:30 p.m. It will be hosted by Argiana Franco. and Lem Ramirez. Coming up, meet the tattoo artist behind his new San Francisco photo exhibit and his full body of work now on display. Well, a brand new photo exhibit featuring the art of tattoos now on display at the San Francisco Main Library. It features the work of San Jose artist Taki Kitamura, who is best known for shining a light on traditional Japanese woodblock prints. And if his story sounds familiar, well, we featured him back in May when dozens of his clients gathered for a major photo shoot in San Jose. And now that body of work is ready for people to see.
What if you could stare?
Kind of at a loss for words, to be honest.
At your legacy.
Get really emotional seeing this. It brings back a lot of memories.
All those memories gathered together in a single moment and then frozen in time for everyone to see and study.
At the end of the day, I think I'm really grateful that I have all these people that took this journey with me and put in the hard work to get these tattoos done and let me do it.
For nearly 3 decades,
I started tattooing in 1998, so almost 30 years now.
Taki Kitamura has given his life to an art whose body of work is now part of an exhibition at the San Francisco Main Library called Living Tattoo Traditions, American Irizumi and Beyond.
I gotta say, I never thought I'd be looking at my work and colleagues' works of mine in the San Francisco Public Library. You know, we've always seen it as art, and not necessarily that we needed the validation, but it's really nice to see that I think that outside the larger society as a whole is really appreciating tattoo art. And I think this exhibition in particular appreciates the cultural significance that not just art, but also culture is something that carries culture, passes stories down, and celebrates. All right, everyone turn around, please.
We were there last December for the exhibition photo shoot.
Chest fire.
As dozens of his clients gathered in San Jose to model the work of Kitamura's Japanese woodblock style of tattooing, a style that still carries a stigma in Japan.
Yeah, the Japanese tattoo really isn't accepted in Japan. It's getting better over time, but I think they've had a very troublesome history. Tattoos were used by the government to mark criminals, so right away there's a stigma. And as much as we love the Yakuza cinema, you know, I think like Yakuza movies really played up that everyone tattooed was part of a criminal organization. But that said, I mean, you know, we have ex-deputy director of the U.S. Marshals. There are 3 or 4 active law enforcement in there, a handful of retired law enforcement as well. I think especially with Japanese tattooing, a lot of people that identify with the warrior ethos, the samurai ethos of gaman, of persevering. But it really applies to a lot of people. I think a lot of people gravitate toward this style.
Allison Witkoff, who works as the director of exhibitions for the library, says the photos not only tell Taki's story, but will take people on both a cultural and historic journey.
I hope they come away with an understanding of tattooing as a way of storytelling, as a conduit of cultural heritage, and as the tattooed body as an archive and memory keeper.
Those memories form between the artist and person who wears their art, and for fellow artist and Taki's wife, Molly. She says they wanted to show that tattooing is truly a partnership.
The client is everything. It's their body, it's their choice, and they're wearing the tattoo for their lifetime.
We're not putting us on an elevated level over the client. Rather, the two of us together can create something very special, and in this case, hopefully carry on culture and celebrate it.
A celebration of art through needle and ink, images now on display, shining a light on a true body of work.
Well, you can check out the tattoo photo exhibit at the San Francisco Main Library through next March. Today, Taki and other tattoo artists are holding a panel discussion at the library. Big day for Taylor Swift fans. The music superstar has officially released her new album, The Life of a Showgirl. People showed up at a Target store last night. This is in Walnut Creek, lined up to go inside to purchase the new album at midnight. You can see quite a turnout, a lot of Swifties there despite that late hour. You can see once again, and today through Sunday, theaters across the country are premiering a music video for The Fate of Ophelia and clips from behind the scenes. Fans can also expect to see Swift's personal reflections on the songs and the life of a showgirl. Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and a look at your top stories.